Thank you to Davisher for sponsoring today's video. Ragost Deft Gastronaut is a new Boros food commander from the recent set. It's funny hearing the word gastro in reference to a Magic the Gathering card. We've got gastro pubs that have popped up over the years across the UK. They're like an attempt at being some upmarket posh pub type place, and yeah, not for me. But as a gastronaut, Ragost is going to not only turn our artifacts into food, but it's going to give us a discount on sacrificing the food as well. And he untaps at every untap step in which we gain life during that turn. So we want lots of artifacts to sacrifice so that we can deal the lightning bolts to all our opponents. And then we want to be gaining life while we do that so that we can untap and deal lightning bolts multiple times per turn cycle. So we'll go to the life gain variants first, the easiest of which is with lifelink on the commander. So Basilisk Collar should help keep your commander up as a decent blocker with Death Touch as well. Shadow Spear to remove Indestructible and Hexproof from some stuff, as well as the lifelink, of course. Sheltered by Ghosts is one that you don't see enough of. Ward 2, lifelink, and it will get rid of a creature when it enters as well. Spirit Loop is not lifelink, so this actually stacks with lifelink. A Caduceus is hopefully going to be indestructible on our commander, and more importantly it gives lifelink. Wouldn't have bothered putting something as expensive in here if it wasn't for the indestructible, but 5 mana for a buff, lifelink and indestructible I think is going to be worth it. Then we've got incremental life gain as well. Soul's Attendant, we should be gaining a life on each of our opponent's turn with that. Same as Authority of the Consuls. This slows down the haste aggro players as well. Scrap Heap is going to be seeing a lot of artifacts be sacrificed, so it will gain us a life and enact the untap easily enough on our commander. And if we can gain enough life over the course of the game, then I don't expect to be shooting everyone with Aetherflux Reservoir, but we'll probably be able to get at least one player out. So once we've got the life gain sorted, what are we actually sacrificing? Well, I've got a lot of artifact tokens that we can dump into play so that we never run out of fodder. Because obviously if we want to try and activate our commander on every single turn of the cycle, then we need a hell of a lot of artifacts to actually sacrifice into him. So there are combos that give us infinite artifacts, but we've got plenty of means of keeping lots and lots of tokens in play. The Loyal Apprentice, as long as our commander's in play, makes a Thopter every turn. These are artifacts that enter with other artifacts. Weapons Manufacturing is excellent, sees an artifact enter and makes an artifact token, so doubles up your affinity. Similar is Academy Manufacture, we've all seen this 100 times. If you would create a food clue or treasure, instead create one of each, so actually trebles your output. Farid, similar to the Weapons Manufacturing, it makes scrap tokens when an artifact enters. Nuka-Cola Vending Machine works really well because all of our artifacts are food with our commander, so whenever we sacrifice any artifact, it makes a tap treasure token, and the tap treasure token is a food. So there's a combo for us to go over later. Stridehanger Automaton, with all the tokens that we'll be seeing, this has each instance of them enter with a Thopter as well, giving us even more sack fodder. From something like a Togo, landfall, make rocks, and if we can get enough little 1/1s into play, we may well be able to go wide on someone for some extra damage with Illustrious Wanderglyph. +2/+2 when we have the City's Blessing, and the Transmutation Font can not only make tokens for us, but we can use this to sacrifice 3 artifacts and go and tutor out another artifact from the library. We also want to be making use of cantrip effects in order to keep our hand full, and if we can make those into artifacts, then they're pulling double duty. Experimental Synthesizer is an impulse draw when it enters and leaves the battlefield. The Implement Cycle are going to draw a card when they leave the battlefield, encouraging us to sacrifice them as food. Same with the Market Gnome, this one gains us life as well, which is good with our commander. Terrarian draws when it leaves as well. Eco Wellspring draws when it leaves and enters, and Lemba Spread is scry 1 and draw. While we're on the topic of card advantage, might as well go over this other stuff as well. Esper Sentinel and Skull Clamp are pretty obvious, especially with all the tokens that we're making with Skull Clamp. Some cards that I've been including in a lot of red decks recently: Brass's Tunnel Grinder, an artifact. If we aren't particularly bothered about flipping it round, then we can always sacrifice it as a food instead, but these two are kind of like selective wheels, and there is a little bit of artifact reanimation in the list as well, so we can dump some decent stuff in the bin ready to cheat it out with our reanimation stuff. Could do something similar with Wheel of Fortune. Obviously it's in here to just refill our hand, and the One Ring. With all the life gain that we're looking to get, we're not all that worried about the burden on the One Ring. Give us enough turns and we'll be keeping our hand more than full with this. As for the ramp, we are in Boros, so it's going to be artifact based. Not necessarily looking to sacrifice a lot of these rocks, but stuff like Mycosynth Wellspring gets us a land when it enters and leaves, so this is one that we can be encouraged to sacrifice. Same with Archaeomancer's Map. Grab 2 lands when it enters, and then it could continue to catch us up to our opponents for the rest of the game, but that entails us having lands in hand. It might just be more useful to sacrifice it as a food. And it's actually quite a lot of mana to hold up when you want to activate your Ragost multiple times through a turn cycle. So Victory Chimes untapping on each player's untap step is going to pay for the commander to be activated on each one of their turns. Smothering Tithe obviously makes treasure tokens for us to either spend or use as sack fodder. I mentioned some reanimation stuff previously. We've got Goblin Engineer, which is a tutor, and then it can reanimate small stuff. Goblin Welder, in my opinion, even better, even though it doesn't have the tutor, because you can reanimate anything with this at the cost of sacrificing, which we want to be doing with our food anyway. Then we've got the triad here of Mere Retriever, Junk Diver and Scrap Trawler. When these die, they fish things out of the bin, and if they can be pointed at each other, then there's all kinds of little chains that you can get off. But more importantly, they are food when they are in play, so you can sacrifice them, go and grab another artifact, that enters and that's food as well, and it just constantly keeps artifacts in your hand and on the battlefield, which is obviously what we want to be doing in a list like this. To Shah, very similar. We've got a lot of low curve spells to cast here, which means we also have lots of low curve spells to reanimate to the Tashar. Should definitely be able to keep our battlefield full with effects like this. Then for removal, the typical stuff that you would expect to see, as well as Hijack. Steal an artifact and it gains haste until the end of the turn, so that could be a creature we could make use of, and then we would look to sacrifice it to our commander. Just steal an opponent's equipment or Soul Ring, Lightning Greaves, something like that. Same with Treasure Nabber. They're either going to not tap down their rocks so that we don't get to nab it, or they're going to tap it down for mana, give it to us, and hope that we don't sacrifice it on our turn. It's noteworthy that we gain control of the artifacts on our opponent's turns, or whenever it is that they tap them for mana, and we keep them until the end of our next turn. So if we're in a position where we're activating our commander on every turn of the turn cycle, we can sacrifice the rocks before we even get round to our turn to maximise the number of rocks that we can take from our opponents with this, and that way they'll never get them back. Austere Command and Blasphemous Act, some obvious wipes to include. Austere Command for the enchantments and things like that that we might struggle against. We can likely go for big creatures with this as well. And then we've got Chandra's Incinerator. I haven't seen in a lot of lists while I've been looking for ideas. This will often come down as a 1-mana creature, thanks to all the lightning bolts that your commander is handing out. And after that, whenever a source we control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, more lightning bolts from Ragost, then this will deal that much damage to a creature or planeswalker that that player controls. So it's just more board control. This will act like one-sided board wipes. Once we can start chaining off our commander, constantly untapping it and reactivating it. And then there's some combo pieces here in Krark Clan Ironworks, Clock of Omens. You've probably seen these 100 times before. Ugin's Nexus, couldn't really fit that anywhere else, but play this, sacrifice it, you get an extra turn. If you're worried about your opponents taking extra turns, something like Maelstrom Wanderer or certain mono blue decks is quite obvious that they're sometimes going to do that. Then we can just leave it in play. Let's have a look at these combos. So the first one I pointed out before is with Nuka-Cola, Krark Clan Ironworks, Ragost. Whenever we sacrifice a food, which is any artifact with our commander in play, it will make a tapped treasure token, which will be counted as a food. Sacrifice it to a sack outlet such as the Ironworks, and you can do that infinitely. In this case, it will net us infinite colourless mana. Transmutation Font, Clock of Omens, and the Stride Hanger Automaton is infinite tapped food tokens, infinite creature tokens, infinite tapped clue tokens as well, and infinite blood tokens I've just seen. So this taps to make an untapped token. That token enters with a Thopter token. Tap the 2 tokens you just made to the Clock of Omens to untap the Transmutation Font, and you rinse and repeat. If you've got the Academy Manufactor in play as well, then you'll be making triple the tokens on each instance, including treasure tokens, so that will be infinite coloured mana as well. But you can do this at instant speed, so doing it before an opponent's turn ends and before yours begins, you've got infinite Thopters in the air for going wide on your opponents with this one. Yeah, speaking of the manufactor, there it is. With Clock of Omens and the vending machine, it's infinite food and clue tokens. Tap the vending machine to make a food token. It will enter with a clue and a treasure. You would tap the clue and the food token in order to untap the vending machine to the Clock of Omens. You have an untapped treasure which you will crack to activate Nuka-Cola again, and there you have infinite food and clue tokens, which can be handy to feed into your commander. There's a few combos in the list, a lot of which are making use of redundancy in the various cards that are available to us, but again, as ever, you can look through combo-finder.com to have a look at that if you would like and study it all in more detail. But I think with that little roundup of the deck, it's time to go through to the gameplay and see how we do. Quick editorial note for all of you. It's a bit of a train wreck, this game. The first guy quit on turn 0 because it's Magic Online, and I forgot to hit record for the first couple of turns. It's basically just all the commanders are in play, you haven't missed anything. But this is the best I could get. I'm trying to get 4 videos out to you every week like I used to, even with the deck text at the beginning. So I'm a bit strapped for time. Apologies that this is the best one I could get, but we'll likely try again with this commander. Anyway, I'll leave you to the live gameplay. Narset enters and keeps us from drawing any additional cards, reveals an Izzet Signet with that, and immediately with Feather it is Reckless Rage onto the Izzet commander. There's some ramp in the form of Arcane Signet for us. I think I'd rather go for the Wellspring. Narset minuses down again and shows us Mystical Tutor. Feather goes in to finish off Narset, and so Reckless Rage dealing with our commander now, as we assumed it would. But we get to sacrifice Macrosynth Wellspring at least, deal 3 damage to each opponent and search for a basic. So I think we concentrate on ramping here. Let's go for the Archaeomancer's map and grab a couple of planes. Oh, I actually messed up there. Should have gone for the Arcane Signet first, but you're probably not going to see this gameplay anyway. Feather decides to cantrip before the end of the turn, and we'll get down one of our 1-mana artifacts as well. The Izzet player goes for the Mystical Tutor that he found with the Narset. We're going to have to discard one of these lands now because I didn't get out the Mana Rock. Okay, I see what the Izzet player might be doing here. He's obviously baiting some kind of hexproof by trying to steal the commander. And if he does have it in response, which he does seem to, then yeah, it can be that Pongify that he tutored for at instant speed. The Feather player is lacking on white mana, so trading out Feather for an Ape token, and swings that in to the left as punishment. And we see Mentor of the Meek should be good with all the instants and sorceries. And Kedis suggests that he's going to be buffing the Feather. We see Urza's Saga, get that down straight away so that we can start making constructs. Let's replay our commander. Actually get down the Arcane Signet this time. And we'll get down another 1-mana artifact. Littering the board with those, ready to have our Ragost eat them. The Emperor into play again. And Feather into play after that, not holding up any white mana. But there's an Arcane Denial on Feather, that's really good. Totally changes the outcome of this game. So as punishment, the Reckless Rage is going to get rid of the commander. I think that's a real reactionary response. I would have held on to that, it's one of the best cards in Feather. So both the commanders being dealt with, hopefully this will make things easier for us, although Feather's going to be drawing 2 cards with the Arcane Denial. And now as punishment again at the Izzet player, swings everything in. So now drawing into the cards, but both players are tapped out thankfully. Okay, Prized Statue along with the Stride Hanger Automaton is nice. So let's go for the Automaton first, then the Statue. And so a Treasure enters with that and makes a Thopter enter as well. And then we're looking at going for a Construct token, I think. I'll just hold up the mana, maybe sacrifice this for a card draw during the next turn cycle. 5 cards left in the Izzet player's hand. He just seems to be passing priority with 7 mana held up, or 8 mana because this is a bounce land. Can't afford his commander thanks to the tap land. Phalanx Leader. That is plus counters whenever he casts his spells. And again, everything's swinging in at the Izzet player. So maybe we can keep Feather off our back for a turn or 2 if we decide to gang up on the Izzet guy as well. Let's go for a Construct token. And that will again enter with a Thopter token thanks to this. which just so happens to be a 10/10, so we can make another one of those. Let's sacrifice the prized statue so that we can make another treasure token, and therefore another Thopter token as well. And this also is going to deal 3 damage to everything. We're missing the life gain at the moment, unfortunately. And there's an Ugin's Nexus for us, which we'll probably make use of this turn. I'm going to make another construct here before we tutor with the Urza Saga. So now we've got a couple of 12/12s, which we can sacrifice for 3 life as food tokens if we want to. I think we're fine grabbing ourselves a Basilisk Collar, or maybe the Trample would be good with the construct, so I'll go for Shadow Spear instead. Before we go for the Ugin's Nexus, let's swing in and try and deal with the Izzet player. It's not likely the Boros player is going to counter us, so swing in with 6 damage in the air, 13 on the ground. Does he have anything for us at instant speed? Well, I thought he might have Cyclonic Rift, apparently he doesn't. Okay, the client's gone weird now. Why are we at the upkeep? We just drew again, and all these are still in the red zone. Okay, I've no idea. We were going to get an extra turn there anyway. No idea what just happened. Sacrifice the Ugin's Nexus to our commander. That will deal 3 damage, as well as give us an extra turn here. Let's get our commander equipped with the Shadow Spear. I suppose I could have done that after attacking in. Yeah, we're back through to combat again here. I'm not sure what's going on. Alright, it's allowing us to attack in with everything. I think we're getting too many turns here, but whatever. Game's been a total train wreck anyway. So that is Might of the Meek. Going to cantrip with that onto the Phalanx. Get some chump blockers in the way with Monastery Mentor as well. We're forcing him to do this without his commander in place, so he's going to lose his instants, which is fine. Expedite onto the leader as well is haste and draw a card. The other player dealing with Feather has done a hell of a lot for us here. Feather's a real pig to deal with. Then a Fists of Flame, +1 to power for each card you've drawn this turn, but is out of mana, so this is a 7/4. He's got a 6/6, a 4/4 and a 2/2 to block with. And there was a bit of salt in the chat here because these two were trading blows against each other and neither of them wanted to back down, so now they're in the predicament they're in. It's what happens when you let your emotions take over. Ganging up on one of the constructs in order to get rid of it. Goes down to 29. And then I'm assuming we still get our extra turn from the Ugin's Nexus even after that weirdness. Yes, we do. So I think we've had an additional combat there. Getting the Greaves onto our commander's probably going to be a good idea. And then we definitely want to sacrifice something this turn so that we can untap this. But we'll probably get down the One Ring first. Let's force our opponent to make some blocks. Makes the obvious block of the 12/12, which we do get to keep in play at least. So they go down to 21. And let's sacrifice this thing in order to draw 3 damage to our opponent. We gain 3 life. And there is a Path to Exile. So if they have to tap out into Feather, we'll probably use that. They might be able to hold up a means of protection if they make a land. Let's go for the Eka Wellspring. Alright, Smothering Tithe is more tokens for us. So go through to our end step and we gain life. So Ragost is going to untap. And we're just trying to dodge a board wipe at this point, really. He does manage to make himself an untapped land. So we'll force him to use protection on his commander for a Path to Exile. Or he could go for Decanter of Endless Water instead. So that will tap for a mana of any colour. Swiftfoot Boots is going to continue to trigger the Mentor. I'm just hoping that this isn't going to go wide on us, because we're going to keep peppering our opponent with these Thopter tokens, I think. Leonin Light Scribe is an Anthem effect for all creatures. Only 2 cards left in hand though. Puts Hexproof onto the Monastery Mentor. Doesn't have any flying at the moment though. So any damage coming our way, we probably just take it. Decides to deal 10 to us with his 2 creatures. Let's go for sacrificing the Eka Wellspring. And that will draw us a card into Soul's Attendant, which is going to be good with the Monastery Mentor. So deal 5 to him. We're going to untap at the end of the turn here as well, so could sacrifice something else. Probably the Archaeomancer's Mat. This thing is never going to get through at this point, so we just hold it back as a blocker. Wait for Ragost to resolve at the end step. And now we see Swiftfoot Boots. I think we want Experimental Synthesizer first. That will be some impulse draw on entry, and when it leaves, shows us a Market Gnome. So that's going to draw when it dies as well. We'll play that, I think. And let's see about swinging in for some damage in the air actually. We've got 8 damage on the Thopters, which just means we need 2 more activations with our commander, and we've done it, assuming that these Thopters get through. So knock our opponent down to 4, activate our commander, get rid of the market gnome. This would gain us a life as well if we didn't have the lifelink already, which could be useful. So definitely include the gnome in your list. A Sun Titan to reanimate some artifacts for us. Might as well just get down the Soul's Attendant here, I think. We're still north of our starting life total. But our opponent goes to 1, and at the end step we'll just sacrifice any old thing. Let's have a look at what was on top of our library. It was a land apparently, but it doesn't matter because we knock our opponent down to -2, so doesn't really count that game. Bit of a train wreck, but it did show the lines that you want to use with Ragost. We got lifelink on the commander so that we get to activate it multiple times per turn cycle. Obviously we could have done it even more had our opponents still been in play. All it means is that you run out of artifact stuff much quicker, but having other opponents in play does give you more time because they're all pointing their interaction at each other. So we could have got down Smothering Tithe to get even more treasure tokens. That's obviously more sack fodder for us, but like I said, got to show off how it works at least. So if you want to see more from it, maybe try and see a real game next time, then let me know in the comments section. Unfortunately, it's quite a tall order on Magic Online. Anyhow, big thank you to the patrons for their financial support of the channel, keeping me doing this. You can do so yourself via the link in the description below if you would like your name in the credits and all that stuff. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.